Hendrick Motorsports. With nearly 300 Cup Series wins and 14 Cup Series championships, you don't have that kind of success by not bending a couple rules here and there. Hendrick Motorsports was definitely not scared to do that.
I guarantee you, up and down this grid right here, there's not a single car that hasn't in some way touched or modified or done something to.
If we went to Daytona, I don't care if it was back then or today, and I came to a crew chief and I said, well, how did inspection go? Oh, great, we flew right through. I'd be very disappointed. And I'd say that car's not going to win this race.
I recently made a video about JGR, 25 times they got caught cheating, and you can only imagine how the comments on that video went. All right, I'm gonna make a Hendrick one. Here we go. Jeff Gordon, Charlotte, 1995, Coke 600, a year after his very first career win. NASCAR officials hit Ray Evernham, Jeff Gordon's crew chief, with a record $60,000 fine, and that was the biggest fine in NASCAR history to that point. What'd they do, you ask? Well, they jimmied with the wheel a little bit. Let's take a look.
Oh, we got a car with a wheel off going down the back straightaway. Let's see who that belongs to. That's off Gordon's car, the number 24, they say.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Here it is, going into turn 3.
Going into turn 3.
Jeff
Gordon, caution is out.
We've obviously had a wheel bearing problem, it looks like, with Jeff Gordon, because there's no other way that front tire can come off. The hub and everything, I think, is still hooked to it.
That's just the wheel. They didn't get the lugs on the way it looks right there.
Yeah.
NASCAR spokesman Kevin Triplett said, "This is a situation where we've revealed the area, but as to what was done, we're not ready to discuss the specifics right now." He did confirm that NASCAR inspectors became suspicious and ordered the season's most successful car into post-race inspection, even though he finished 33rd after his right front wheel malfunctioned early in the race. Gordon's tire came off the right front. Team members reported at the time that the hub was broken. Kevin Triplett said, "What we saw happen made us wonder, like virtually everyone else, why it happened. And we didn't like what we found."
NASCAR wants to take a look at that wheel that came off. They've asked to have it taken over to the inspection area there. Remember, he's third in points going into this race. They've just picked up that tire, and they're bringing that in.
It was reported that the team had altered the spindle on the right front wheel by drilling through it. This caused the wheel to not meet minimum weight requirements for NASCAR inspection. Dan Lowasser, a spokesman for Hendrick Motorsports, said, "We accept the fine. There will be no appeal. We want to emphasize that Ray Evernham would never do anything to compromise the safety of Jeff Gordon. Ray says the hub did not have anything to do with the suspension failure."
Now, Jeff Gordon up on the top side of Jeff Burton. He's got a run. He is on the outside and has a run on Burton.
The year is 2000. The track is Richmond, and it would be Jeff Gordon's 52nd career victory and the final of the Rainbow Warriors paint scheme. But not all was right in Richmond. Jeff Gordon failed post-race inspection. Crew chief Robbie Loomis was fined 25,000 big ones. Jeff Gordon lost 100 driver points, and Rick Hendrick lost 100 owner points due to the intake manifold on Gordon's car being illegal. This one was an absolute mess. The GM part number on the casting was the same, however a different material was used which altered the properties of the casting. The changed casting was not resubmitted by GM for NASCAR approval. Multiple other teams, including 2 Hendrick Motorsports Chevys, were running the same exact manifold with the same material and did not get penalties. After multiple Hendrick Motorsports appeals, they failed. Later on, NASCAR came out and admitted that they were wrong. The 100-point penalty virtually assured Jeff Gordon would finish 10th in the standings 1 year before he would win his final in 2001.
30 laps after the resumption of green flag racing, Steve Park says bye-bye to Jeff Gordon. Interesting thing.
2001, Rockingham, once again we got Jeff Gordon. He finished third, but Robbie Loomis would be penalized 25,000 big ones. 24 Chevrolet did not meet the minimum height requirements. Robbie Loomis said, "I take full responsibility for what happened at Rockingham. An oversight in pre-race preparation led to a mechanical failure. A set screw that secures the jack bolt loosened during the race, allowing the car to lower and become extremely tight. Unfortunately, I feel this incident also cost us a chance to win the event. My congratulations go to Steve Park and DEI for a great victory." Alright, week before at Daytona, yes, I'm not going perfectly in order. I'm just going in order by the years, you know? Jerry Nadeau, Daytona qualifying.
Whoa, second fastest on his second lap. His first lap was only 27th fastest. His second lap, he picked up 7/10 of a second. You know what?
It's because the car was cheated up, Mike. Tony Furr, crew chief of the number 25 Chevy, received a 4-race suspension and a $10,000 fine for not meeting the minimum height specifications. Following 2001 qualifying at Daytona, the team's time was disallowed. Furr was also fined an additional $2,500 for a fuel cell violation. And then Furr got a final penalty for adjustable braces. To say this car was cheated up is an understatement. And yeah, Robbie Loomis, Jeff Gordon, the 24 team got penalized for unapproved fuel cell check valve and unapproved air deflector. Yeah. Michigan 2002. NASCAR officials announced that Jim Long, crew chief of the number 5 Chevy driven by Terry Labonte, had been fined $20,000 and he had been placed on probation until December 31st, 2002. A rule violation found in pre-race inspection. The penalty was the result of the team attempting to increase the capacity of the fuel cell through pressure. Daytona 500 2002. Chad Canals, crew chief of the number 48 Chevy, and Jimmie Johnson, they were both fined. 25,000 big ones, 25 driver points. They broke section 12-4-A of the 2002 NASCAR Winston Cup Series rulebook. Actions detrimental to stock car racing. Offset mounting bolts for the front of the truck trailing arm.
Johnson hits Jeff Green. He's in the grass.
I think he had a tire going down there.
If he didn't, he does.
Keeps it off the wall.
2003 Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Chad Canals, crew chief for the number 48 Lowe's Chevy, was fined for rule violations. Those violations were actions detrimental to stock car racing, sections 12-4-Q, unapproved use of refrigerant near the fuel system. It was only a $2,500 fine though.
And we have a crash on the track. Kyle Busch, who does not have a provisional to fall back on in this limited effort out of the Hendrick R&D shop, and now he's got a very wrinkled up race car.
This clip's from 2004, but in 2003, in the finale at Homestead, Hendrick Motorsports tried to enter a number 60 Chevrolet that would have been piloted by Kyle Busch. The car failed to pass the event's initial inspection process, and it was confiscated by NASCAR, which led to the team not participating at all. The car was found to be in violation of section 12-4-Q of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series rulebook. Parts and or equipment used that do not conform to NASCAR's rules. The number 60's rear window opening exceeded the diagonal specifications. Shame. Alright, 2005 New Hampshire. Lance McGrew, crew chief of the number 25 Chevrolet driven by Brian Vickers, was fined 10,000 big ones and placed on probation for the remainder of the year. The 25 team had its primary car confiscated after the weekend's initial inspection process due to an unapproved car body. Vickers was penalized 25 driver points and car owner Mary Hendrick was penalized 25 owner points. 2005 Talladega, another little small one. Alan Gustafson, crew chief of the number 5 Kellogg Chevrolet driven by Kyle Busch, was fined $1,000 because of an unapproved right side window.
Good bet to win today's race.
These fellas work for Jimmie Johnson. You might consider betting on him because this is one of the best pit crews in the business. And Johnson is on a roll. Won the shootout at Daytona, 5th in the 500, 2nd at California. Fast here in every practice session. Car number 48, watch it today. He's a good bet. Steve?
All right, Las Vegas 2005, Jimmie Johnson. Chad Knaus was fined $35,000 and suspended for 2 races for a multitude of penalties, 3 to be exact. But the main one being, the roof height was too low in post-race inspection. They appealed multiple times, but their appeals were denied. Jeff Gordon, the car owner, lost 25 owner points. Jimmie Johnson lost 25 driver points. Jimmie Johnson would go on to win the race. But that's not all. One more car got penalized from the Hendrick stable. And guess who?
And as exciting as Johnson's win is, how about hometown teenager Kyle Busch, who gave a safe driving clinic to high school students just 4 years younger than him this weekend. And here he is, finishing 2nd in his hometown.
Runner-up, Kyle Busch. Not for the same thing, though. Multiple penalties, but the biggest one being the quarter panel heights were too high in post-race inspection. They lost 25 car owner points for Rick Hendrick. They lost 25 driver points for Kyle Busch. And a $25,000 fine and 2 race suspension for Alan Gustafson, the crew chief. Multiple appeals on this one as well, and they were all denied. This one was a pretty big deal too. 2006 Daytona 500. Qualifying, Chad Knaus, crew chief for the number 48, was fined $25,000 and suspended for all NASCAR events for a month. Knaus was also placed on probation for the entire year. The penalties came because of an unapproved template modification to the rear window area. The violation was discovered during February 12th post-qualifying inspection for the Daytona 500. NASCAR ejected Knaus from further participation in the 500 activities as a result of the violation. Jimmie also won this race too.
Jimmie Johnson wins his first Daytona 500 victory.
Jeff Gordon's going to win his 3rd duel at Daytona.
2007 Gatorade Duel at Daytona. Jeff Gordon won it, but his car failed post-race inspection. They said the quarter panels were too low by almost an inch. Robert Pemberton, NASCAR's vice president for competition, said the shock fasteners and spacers used to hold the rear shocks that are installed during pre-race preparation for restrictor plates were misaligned. He said it was likely a mistake by the mechanic. Therefore, the only penalty Jeff Gordon got was having to start 42nd in the Daytona 500.
Early this morning, breaking news from the garage. 4-time series champion Jeff Gordon and his teammate, the reigning series champ Jimmie Johnson, parked by NASCAR today when their cars failed pre-testing, pre-practice inspection. They were not allowed on the track at all today, were not allowed to practice, will not make a qualifying attempt. They will start 41st and 42nd on Sunday. Tomorrow, NASCAR will discuss exactly how those cars are able to participate in Saturday's scheduled practice sessions here at Sonoma. For more on this story, let's go down to the garage, and here's Matt Yoakum.
Well, Bill, 4-time champion Jeff Gordon summed it up best. He said, I'm on cloud 9 because I just had a baby, but everyone else within our organization are really racking their brains over what's taken place today, which just has been a nightmare. Now, the issue in question is in the fender area on the front, around the Goodyear tire label. Now, they actually had to cut those sections out and re-weld in new sections. The big question mark tomorrow, A, is when they're going to be allowed on the racetrack. You mentioned they're going to be starting 41st and 42nd, but the bigger question is really the penalty.
Jeff Gordon, Steve Letarte, and Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus were all penalized at Sonoma in 2007. They got 4 penalties each, and those penalties were Sections 12-4-A, actions detrimental to stock car racing, 12-4-Q, car parts, components, and/or equipment used do not conform to NASCAR rules. 20-2-1E, parts or components of the car not previously approved by NASCAR that have been installed or modified to enhance aerodynamic performance will not be permitted. And 20-2H, fenders may not be cut or altered except for the wheel or tire clearance, which must be approved by the series director of the 2007 NASCAR rulebook. The violations found were during the initial inspection process on Friday. As a result, Jeff Gordon and Jimmie Johnson were both penalized 100 driver championship points. Their crew chief, Steve Letarte and Chad Knaus, were both fined $100,000 and suspended for 6 races, and they were placed on probation for the remainder of the year. In addition, Rick Hendrick, owner of the number 24, was penalized 100 car owner points, and Jeff Gordon, who was the owner of the 48, was also penalized 100 owner points. Ugh. New Hampshire 2007. Kyle Busch and Alan Gustafson of the 5 team were penalized in post-race inspection. They failed to meet the minimum front car heights. Kyle Busch was penalized 25 driver points, Alan Gustafson was penalized $25,000, and Rick Hendrick was penalized 25 car owner points. 2012 Daytona 500, Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus are at it again. This time we have an illegal seat post that gave him an unfair aerodynamic advantage. Car owner Jeff Gordon lost 25 owner points. Car driver Jimmie Johnson lost 25 driver points. Crew chief Chad Knaus got a $100,000 fine and got suspended for 6 races. Car chief Ron Mallett got suspended for 6 races as well. They appealed once, nothing happened, but they appealed the second time. All the points were rescinded, but the fine stood. Chad Knaus got the crew chief those 6 races as well. They argued that the governing body confiscated the seat post deemed illegal before they even went through technical inspection. They argued that the same car with the seat post pillars that come down from the roof to the rear quarter panel passed NASCAR's inspection 16 times previously in the last year. And they were right. Dover 2016, Kasey Kahne. Casey's crew chief Keith Rodden was fined $25,000 and team owner Rick Hendrick was docked 15 championship owner points, and Kasey lost 15 championship driver points. The rules violation stemmed from failing a laser tech platform post-race inspection, where the car's truck arms failed to meet the correct measurements. When asked, Keith Rodden had this to say: "We had an unintentional issue at Dover when our left and right side truck arms were bent at some point during the race. I'm disappointed in NASCAR's decision, but we have to accept it and focus on the upcoming races. We have a great team with a lot of positive momentum that we hope to carry into the summer."
The 48 team once again in inspection. They had gone through multiple times this morning, had rolled out onto the grid, but have been pushed back to inspection. An official has told me that it appears to them that the A-post had been manipulated. That's the area of the race car they're looking at right now. Chad Knaus, along with one of the NASCAR officials, making a close examination of that particular area of the race car to see what's going on. I was told by an official that they will probably put the templates back on the race car and put it through another technical inspection, if you will. Close.
Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus 2016 Homestead, the season finale. The A-post was manipulated right before the race. This ensured that Jimmie Johnson would have to start all the way back in 41st, and it absolutely killed their day. Actually, Jimmie Johnson won his 7th championship and made history.
You know, these pictures have been on social media for the last couple of days, and this video was on. We showed it, and you can see on the messing with the back of the spoiler, trying to get something what appears to be trying to get something off of the spoiler, and then in front of the right rear tire, you can see a little bit of something going on there, and then a little bit of a loop on the spoiler, and all that is lips trying to create more downforce. Now, I hate to say this, but we're speculating a little bit that that's what this is, but we believe that's what this is, that these pictures are out. And to be honest with you, and Tony, I'm not putting Tony on the spot, but what's amazing about this is that the teams know that photographers are shooting every single lap of every single car.
Chase Elliott 2017 Chicagoland playoff race. Alan Gustafson, the crew chief, suspended 1 race and fined $25,000 for an L1 infraction. They also suspended car chief Joshua Kirk for 1 race. The team was penalized for violating section 20.20 of the Cup rulebook for modifying components to affect aerodynamic properties of the car. Hendrick Motorsports did not appeal the penalty. The year is 2018. The driver's Chase Elliott. The track is Phoenix. NASCAR said the team failed to comply with a rule that requires the trailing arm space/pinion angle shim surface to be in complete contact with all points at all times. Failure to meet that requirement could create the additional side force The team was penalized 25 driver points and 25 owner points. Crew chief Alan Gustafson was fined $50,000, and car chief Josh Kirk was suspended for 2 races. Chase Elliott, you've been a bad boy. Texas, 2018, like 2 weeks after the last one. Alan Gustafson, Elliott's crew chief, was suspended 2 races for an infraction following an 11th place finish. The team was penalized because the car's rear window did not remain rigid during the race. Elliott was docked 20 driver points, Rick Hendrick was docked 20 owner points, and Hendrick Motorsports was fined $50K, and it did not appeal. Charlotte, 2020. After a runner-up finish in the Coca-Cola 600, Jimmie Johnson's final one, he would be penalized. Cup Series director Jay Fabian said that the number 48 car's rear alignment failed in the optical scanning station portion of the technical inspection after the race. Johnson and the team were relegated to a last place finish in the 40 car field. Jimmie Johnson also had to forfeit 11 stage points he earned in the race. I mean, dude literally drove a 600-mile race, finished second, and got 1 point for the whole thing. That sucks, man.
Alex Weaver here with breaking news out of the NASCAR Cup Series. Hendrick Motorsports has been assessed an L2 level penalty for exceeding its wind tunnel testing time this year.
Hendrick Motorsports was fined $100,000 for this and hit with the loss of 10 hours of wind tunnel testing time for 2021. According to the NASCAR rulebook, organizations are allocated 150 testing hours. Hendrick Motorsports used 151.
NASCAR announced on Wednesday that all 4 Hendrick Motorsports teams have been assessed an L2 level penalty following Phoenix race weekend.
It's the Phoenix Hendrick Motorsports louver thing. 2023, all 4 crew chiefs from Hendrick Motorsports, Cliff Daniels, Alan Gustafson, Rudy Fugel, and Blake Harris, all were suspended 4 races and fined $100,000 each for illegal louvers on the hood. This is the biggest penalty in NASCAR history, the biggest one in 10 years since Michael Waltrip Racing's shenanigans at Richmond in 2013. Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, and William Byron all penalized 100 driver points and 10 playoff points. Chase Elliott was not penalized because he was out with injury, and Josh Berry, substituting for him, was not running for points. But Hendrick did appeal. They got the points penalties rescinded, but all the crew chiefs still had to face their suspensions, and their $400,000 fine stood. Hendrick claimed that they had to manipulate the parts to make them fit the car. Hendrick Motorsports is on record saying the parts they were receiving were not up to normal standards. Literally like 2 weeks later, during the middle of the appeal of the last penalty, Hendrick got this penalty. Alex Bowman and William Byron, after Richmond Raceway, they were both penalized 60 points each and 5 playoff points each for a greenhouse violation. And their backup crew chiefs that are in because of the last penalty suspensions to their main crew chiefs are suspended. Brian Campy and Greg Ives, 2 race suspension, $75,000 fine for each. The only thing you can do to the greenhouse is add a windshield wiper motor in case of a rain race. But Hendrick went a little bit further than that, and they paid for it. Hendrick Motorsports said this modification did not increase performance, but they did not appeal. Finally, we're done, however many penalties later. If you like that video, please subscribe, like, comment, do whatever you want. That was a pain in the ass, and we'll have more to come. Thanks.
Break through the chains, go free.